Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to stand before you today, not only as a living reminder of a long, long ago historical event, but also to be here as a standing and speaking representative of over 2,400 other individuals who, because of that event, have been unable to stand or to speak for themselves for over 74 years past. Also, I stand before you in remembrance of over 80,000 other military individuals, Navy, Marine Corps, Army Air Corps, Coast Guard, who, like myself, survived that event, but who have themselves since passed on. Is everybody hearing me all right? Okay, fine, okay. Just to remind you a little bit, refresh your memories if I may, it was 74 years ago, this past December 7th, at approximately 7:51 a.m. Hawaiian time, that aerial bombs, torpedoes, and machine gun bullets began raining down on those of us on the ship's military installations on the island of Oahu, territory of Hawaii. It was 74 years ago that the once roaring, blazing guns aboard the mighty battleships Utah, Oklahoma, and Arizona fell forever silent as those great ships, with many of their brave and valiant crew members still manning their battle and duty stations, slipped beneath the oil-covered, burning waters of Pearl Harbor. In the many days and years that have since passed, I have oftentimes wondered, as I do most every morning, and as I would ask each of you to take a moment to wonder with me now. Have those brave and valiant crew members on each and every day that has since passed, did they this morning, and will they forever stand muster, still manning their battle and duty stations there beneath the calm and peaceful waters of a harbor they gave their lives to defend? Think about it. Think about it. The reason I say that is back in the old Navy that I served in, if a vessel and its crew members went missing, unless located and recovered, that vessel and those crew members were considered to be on an eternal patrol. Well, we know where the USS Arizona, the Utah are. We've got a pretty good idea where the USS Oklahoma is. We know where those crewmates are, those crew members are, so we can't consider them to be on an eternal patrol. But I'd like to suggest to you that if in remembering them, it will help us to remember and to keep the Pearl Harbor survivors' motto, which is remember Pearl Harbor, keep America alert. If in remembering them, it will help us to remember and do that, then I'd like to suggest to you that though they have not been on an eternal patrol, they have been, are now, and will forever be on an eternal watch. The call... Thank you. I only have a few minutes. So the calm and quiet of that long, long ago Sunday morning on a peaceful Pacific Island paradise was first interrupted by the faint, faraway drone of enemy aircraft engines, then totally, completely, and forever unforgettably shattered by the roar of exploding bombs, torpedoes, shipboard ammunition magazines, by the cannon's roar, the machine guns rattle, the cries of the wounded, and the sighs of the dying. I have came to feel that no one who stood as they did that day at Pearl Harbor or any other military installation or vessel under attack on or at the island of Oahu on December 7th, 1941, a date that has lived in infamy, should ever be considered less than a patriot. Those of us of the Navy, Marine Corps, Army Air Corps, Coast Guard were caught off guard and badly beaten that morning. But those of us who survived picked ourselves up, dusted off our pride, tended to our wounded, and buried our dead. Then set out to recover and repair those ships, aircraft, artillery, vehicles, whatever all else could be recovered and repaired. And in the ensuing months and years, with almost 100% support and involvement here on the home front, especially here in California, we began to receive an almost unending supply of new ships, aircraft, artillery, vehicles, ammunition, freshly trained troops, and whatever all else we stood in need of. With these things at hand, those of us of the combined military forces of the United States and some of its allies set out upon, over, and under the waters of the vast Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, other areas of navigable water, flyable airspace, and approachable land, not only to seek out, but to destroy those who would destroy us. It took a considerable length of time and had a great loss of men and equipment, and we did not win every battle. But we for sure won that war. And I can tell you with an assurity that if the United States had not won that war, there would most likely be fewer citizens and certainly none of us survivors around to talk about it today. I have always felt that I was extremely lucky in that I was in the duty section, restricted to base, assigned the 0800 to 1200 security watch at Aerial Patrol Squadron VP 23's hangar, Building 54, located on the harbor inlet end of Naval Air Station Ford Island, right in the center of Pearl Harbor on the morning of December 7th, 1941. I had arrived at the hangar early, and I was in an upper-level office attempting to type a letter to my dear sweet mother. Now, you got to realize, prior to joining the Navy, I don't think I had even seen a typewriter, much less had an opportunity to try to use one. But I was working away, and I was using that old two-finger hunt and peck system on that old manual typewriter. Some of you have had that experience. And I was proud of what I was doing. I was making progress. I was really going to impress my family back there on the farm with that typewritten letter. I heard the sound of an approaching aircraft in the background, but that's not unusual. We're a naval air station. Airplanes come and go, but not usually on a Sunday and not that early in the morning. That sound grew louder and louder, and I'm thinking, oh, well, okay. A couple of the aircraft carriers, the Lexington and the Enterprise, had left the harbor the previous week to deliver short-range aircraft to our military forces on Midway and Wake Island, and I figured they must be returning, and as usual, they will launch their aircraft while they're still out at sea. Those airplanes come in and operate off the land base while the carrier is in the harbor. The sound of that airplane changed, and I knew immediately that it was in a power dive. And I'm thinking, oh, that's one of those carrier air group pilots. He's got a little bit bored with that regulation military formation flying. He's wanting to do a little hot dogging and have a little fun. And I'm thinking, boy, I won't want to be in his shoes when the commanding officer gets a hold of him. He's really going to be in trouble. Little did I realize that it was those of us there on the ground and on the ships that were going to be in some serious trouble very, very shortly. Suddenly and almost simultaneously, there was a tremendous roar, and bomb fragments, explosion debris, and window glass came crashing into the back of my head, ears, neck, and onto my shoulders. Those of you who have been involved in similar events will maybe remember that can kind of derail your train of thought. It did mine anyway. It took me a few seconds to get my train of thoughts back together. And when I did, I'm still thinking it's one of our friendly air group pilots hot dogging. crashed, and I'm going to go down and see if I could be of some help. I pushed myself back from that debris-covered typewriter and desk, got up, shook off as much of that debris as I could, and started for the door. It's then that I realized, oh, I could be in trouble up here using a typewriter. You know, I'm on watch. I reached back, grabbed that unfinished letter, ripped it out of the carriage of that typewriter, crumbled it in my hand, and threw it in the wastebasket as I went out the door. You can only imagine how many times I have wished that I would have kept that letter